Hello everyone, Damon here from Win at Ecommerce, and I'm here today as part of our 30-day series on how to help you win this Black Friday Cyber Monday. And I'm here to answer the question of, what do I do with all these segments? It's the number one question I get from people when I talk to them, and I think ultimately there's a lot of mystery around segments, and I want to demystify it and give you some really great insights into what we do at our agency. First and foremost, before I begin, I want to say the first thing you need to do is simplify. I've been in accounts that had 60, 70, 80, around 100 different segments. And the problem with that is when you get that many segments, it's just too many to manage. It's way too complex, way too complicated, and you end up forgetting about most of what you've got. So the first lesson, that's not even written here, is get it nice and simple. So with that said, what are the segments that you need to be successful this Black Friday Cyber Monday? Let's start with some basic segmentation. And these are going to be ones that you've heard before, but I'm going to kind of put a fine point on these and to give you some insights on them. First off are VIPs. VIPs, they're so 2022, but that's okay. VIPs are some of your best people. They're kind of like your hidden loyalty program. They're the ones that buy the most from you overall. They're the ones that they're going to shop all the time. They're on there. They're pretty easy to segment around, and you can segment on placed order value above a higher norm than average. Then add an or of a frequency number. They bought more than twice. I've seen 1,000 ways to cut this one. There's no perfect way to define it. I gave you a couple of them there if you haven't done it at all, but ultimately just identify a group of them, at least have a few, 300-400 people, if not more, into that segment, but don't make it too big because they're supposed to be VIPs. But ultimately, it's just a segment of highly valuable people. And the way you use it, which is the most important part about a segment, is you give them exclusive access to items, or to sales that they have access to before anybody else. You quiz them when you come up with a new product. You kind of invite them inside and give them a big old warm hug. That's what VIPs are for. The next one for basic segmentation are basic engagement segments. And those are real simple. 0 to 30, 31 to 60, 61 to 90. You can do 91 to 120, 120 to 180, and then 180 to 240. I don't care. Whatever you want to do. Go as high as you want. But the engagement lists or segments are paramount. And it's funny, I've been into some pretty large accounts that didn't even have these set up. Again, these are basic. So a couple things here when we talk about this. A question that comes up is, do I do it off of active on site? Do I do it off of interactions with the emails? How do I do it? And the answer is yes. I would do it among any of them. My favorite version of the engagement segment is active on site, open within that time frame right there, 0 to 30 days, for example. But when you do open, say, ignore the Apple privacy opens because those are fake opens, and then email clicks. So it'll be active on site, 0 to 30 days, opens, not Apple privacy opens, 0 to 30, and then clicks 0 to 30. You do any of those three, you're in the 0 to 30 engaged segment. There you go. Boom. You do the same one from 31 to 60 and the same thing for 61 to 90. Now, you might notice, hey, Damon, I don't like to do it this way. I like to do 0 to 30, 0 to 60, 0 to 90, or I like to do 0 to 90, no purchases, blah, blah, blah. That goes back to my first point. Don't make this complicated. I'm going to show you in a moment why you don't want to do it any other way than this way. If it comes down to filtering out people who purchased, that's a suppression segment. So you might as well do these and then do an overlay of suppression segment for purchasers. That's the way you do it. Keep it simple with your segments. Now, we've got these wonderful basic segments. Let's go now into advanced segments. These are the big boys. I'm going to go into more depth in just a moment. I'm going to quickly go through them right now. Advanced segmentation is around recency, frequency, and monetary value. Recency, simple. How recent did they buy? 30, 60, 90 days? Frequency, how often do they buy over the course of a year, over in their lifetime? And then finally, monetary value. What's the AOV? How much do they buy when they buy? Now, here's the challenge of RFM. It is that the question comes down to, what is my company's recency? Should it be 30, 60, or 90 days? What is my frequency? And what is my monetary value? At my agency, we look at each individual client differently, and we look at the mean and we look at one standard deviation from the mean. We literally do that for all of our clients to figure out the RFM model. You can change it up as you want to, but this is a really great model. And that's because we're able to create very, very valuable segments, like the replacement in my mind for the VIP, which is the high roller. You've got nearly theirs. You've got brand enthusiasts and waiting for wows. So all of these four, I'm going to define in just a moment for you, but this is our advanced segmentation strategy. And really for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, what I honestly believe that you should do to get ready for that big and important time. So let's go through these a little bit more in depth in these next couple of slides. Now, above me here is the explanation as to why you want to break down the 0 to 30, 31 to 60, and 61 to 90. You see, if you combine them all together, you don't know where in the decision-making process that the opens and clicks and bounces and all that stuff is happening. So this is just a quick random sample I took, and it follows a lot of the conventions I expect. So 0 to 30 days, the number of recipients is the highest. That's fantastic. And this is a kind of a small account. The 31 to 60, medium, and then 61 to 90 is the smallest. That makes a lot of sense to me. No bounces, fantastic. Then you get the open rates, and it makes perfect sense to me that the 0 to 30 is the most engaged. And then clicks, there you go. 1.76% versus the others. What's interesting is 61 to 90 had a higher percentage clicks than 31 to 60, but it's not meaningfully large. It's just kind of an interesting thing to see. And then you can see the placed order number, the percentage, again, kind of interesting. 61 to 90 had the highest percentage, but again, it's not significantly different. It's just one order, not a big deal. Again, small account. We just took these guys on recently. The point here, though, is I can now start seeing things and making themes and hypotheses about the different segments. Are we doing a good job? Generally, 0 to 30 should be the strongest segment. And again, all these numbers are pretty much in line. I'm not too concerned. But if the clicks for 0 to 30 was like 0.5, but yet 61 to 90, it was a lot higher, I would be really curious as to why. Did we do an ad campaign that wasn't very good? Or did somebody just buy a darn list and pop it in here or something silly like that? So there's just a lot of things that these numbers can tell you. And I also want to kind of like thread the needle here and say, we do all this. These, this segment structure right here is usually the best deliverability and all that. But if you're really going to grow your business, you can't keep on sending emails to just these highly engaged 0 to 90 day engagement groups. You've got to take these and then also layer in some segments of those less engaged people. When you layer them in with these people, then you get a good blend of deliverability. Obviously, the ones that are less engaged are not going to have the best performance metrics. But when you layer them in with the high performance metrics, it'll all blend out to be something really good. So with that said, right now, during the months before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, this is the approach you take for segments to start off with as the basic to get everything kind of lined up and then to start growing your base of customers by adding those other groups in. One last note. It is expected, at least in my company, that anybody that's in the 0 to 30 is going to get almost every single email. They've been highly engaged. They're all into it. But of course, if they don't engage with your email, if they're not opening it, clicking it, or going to your site, they're going to trickle down to the 31 to 60, 61 to 90 and go away. Similarly, if you send an email out to a huge group, let's say you grab another segment of like unengaged, and it's another 5,000 people or something, and you throw it in there. Anybody from the unengaged that becomes engaged, guess what? In this model, in the next 90 days, they're going to be getting a higher quantity of emails from you, which gives you a chance to hopefully sell them in the beginning. But if not, have another 90 days to sell to them one by one as they flow through each of these different engaged segments. So that's kind of the strategy here. It's strategic. It's done by this on purpose, and it's a great way to do some basic segmentation. Now it's time for advanced. If basic segmentation is a 101 class in college, well, this is more like a master's level. So this is advanced segmentation. And according to Klaviyo here, 75% of your time goes here. I'm not sure about that. Maybe if you're super advanced in doing all that, I would say you should definitely be focusing on this. And in preparation for BFCM, you want to be learning this right now so you can get this going. We're going to start at the top left over there with high rollers. And this is the definition. Remember RFM, recency, frequency, monetary value. The high roller has recent purchases, they buy frequently, and they have a high value. They're the ones that you love. They're the new VIPs. You give them perks, exclusivity, and advocacy prompts, referrals, all that kind of fun stuff. They're promoters of your brand. To the right of them, to the right is the brand enthusiasts. Very similar to high rollers, but their AOV is a little bit lower. It's a low value, which just means they're not buying as much when they do buy. So what do? You can focus on them to increase their average order value. How do you do that? You do related discounts, volume discounts, you look at cross-sells and other things to get them to go up. All of our data shows that when your clients end up cross-buying multiple products among different categories, they become high rollers faster. This is the same thing. You want to be able to do what you can to get those brand enthusiasts over to high rollers. Just beneath the high rollers are potential high rollers. And right there, they're just not frequent enough. They have the high value, they've got the recency, but their frequency isn't quite there. So you want to do what you can to get them to be more frequent, and you do perks and like replenishment. So like back in stocks and all that kind of fun stuff. Over across from them are potential enthusiasts, which they recently bought, but they're not frequent and they're low value. So they're kind of like third, fourth on the totem pole there. And the goal here is you want to increase their AOV and or their frequency. And you do that by, once again, related products, volume discounts, whatever you can to get them up into those higher tiers. And of course, to track and make sure that's happening. On the bottom left-hand corner, there's nearly theirs. What are those? Well, they bought recently and they buy frequently, but their value isn't so great. So they need to be nudged over the line. Ultimately, these people probably haven't never bought before, zero. They're nearly there to a purchase. So they're kind of like our waiting for wows, which we'll talk about in a moment. So these aren't really necessarily predicated on purchase values. They're predicated on behavioral experiences on your website. So you want to do sales, like that's going to drive them. Fear of missing out and mild discounts. So the idea is that they need to be spoken to in a slightly different way to get them over the line. This says like mild discounts. The antithesis of that are the waiting for wows, which are recent but not frequently buying, and they've never purchased, not frequently visitors to your website. So what does that mean? You got to push them over the line. How? The nudge was the nearly theirs, the waiting for wows. You gotta smack them. So that means listing deals, best offers. They really need it. So they're further away from the finish line than the nearly theirs, who just need a little nudge. These guys need a lot more help, and that is kind of like the way to look at a lot of your markets here. In my agency, we end up doing the basic segmentation and then looking at the advanced segmentation and using them in conjunction with one another. There's definitely overlap, and that's perfectly fine. There's no problem whatsoever there with that. But when we create emails and look at these different people, we want to remember there's different motivations and things that these people need. I really love the waiting for wows because they're people that show a lot of opportunity and potential to become something really big for you. We also do things like the espresso shot, which are people that have looked at multiple pages on your website in the last 24, 48 hours, but didn't take the plunge. Those are perfect. They're just like the waiting for wows and the nearly theirs. They're almost there. They didn't quite see what they needed. And it's your job as the marketer to figure out what it is that they do need, whether it's a different product, whether it's that discount they need or something else, and really to nudge them over the line. I don't like discounts in general, but I believe when you have a really great product, a product that people can rebuy, it takes a discount to get people over that fence of indecision so that they do make that first purchase, because once they make that first purchase, they're going to love you. So there you go. That's my ultimate guide to segmentation. Are there more segments? Yeah, there's like 100 more. We've got like 40 segments we do for potentially with our clients. But guess what? We only do about 10 or so for each of our clients because we want to pick the best of the best for each one. So thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please subscribe. And to get more about what to do to get ready for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, please watch more of these videos. Or if you need our help, go down into our liner notes, and in there you can see a link to talk to me and my team. Thanks a lot for your time. Have a great day. Bye.